Hey, and welcome back. And I'm really excited to have our next guest here. It's Renard. Hey, Renard, how are you?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for those kind words. I appreciate
Oh,
being
well.
called a kind person.
Hey, you like since the day I met you, I don't know, it's the mix of the smile and the beard, I think. And obviously your amazing character, but
I give all credit goes to my mother. All credit goes to my mother.
that's brilliant. Well, look, before I get kicked into things, because I've got tons of questions for you in a very short period of time.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I have referred to myself as a recovering studio executive. I've been in this business for 37 years. And I started out at the very lowest rung on the production ladder, which is, running around on a set, unpaid, doing whatever they asked me to do. And I was bitten by the bug very early on. I'm a visual artist and also I'm an engineer. So I have both right and left brain working simultaneously every day. And I've really enjoyed my career. I've done everything. I've had the chance to start out in film. I then went into live sports. Had the pleasure of learning from some of the most wonderful sports photographers on the planet. A lot of the work that I was doing at that time was with ABC, and when ESPN was just beginning. So I was running around with some of the best in the business and learning from them. And much credit to them for everything that they taught me. They saw my visual acumen, and they said, "Hey, this guy, he has an eye." And they helped me do that. And then I fell in love with, I shouldn't say fell in love. I've always been a musician. So sound, and I went into sound engineering and became a location sound, person. And I did that for a number of years. I did news, I did theater. I've been in war zones and I've been on stage. And I have, I have run the gamut throughout my career. And then I went back to the studios about 5 years ago. And 2 years ago, me and a few of my friends said, "Hey, why don't we do what we love to do together?" And so that's what we did. We started I2A2, and we're now doing what we love to do, which is helping people bring their ideas to life through technology, and working with artists to make sure that we can continue to make technology transparent for artists, because we want artists to think about art. They shouldn't have to think about the tools. They should just be able to use them. The way I describe myself, Mike, is I tell people all the time, I'm a creative first. My mother says I came out of the womb with a camera in my hand. I have always been a visual artist. I love cameras. I love, capturing moments. But I'm also a curious engineer second. So I am a creative first and a curious engineer second, and the two of those really play well together, because it continues to help me sort of seek what the next answers are and look
Yeah.
forward from where I am at all times.
Hollywood. Obviously, you've got an incredible background there. And what I love, having come from the UK over to LA and now being able to dip my toe into Hollywood and AI is, they're really innovating. So, how are you seeing this industry respond to this rise of technology? Well, not technology, AI, probably more important right now in the production process.
I think the best way to describe it is cautious curiosity. Is really what we're seeing, with a little bit of optimism sprinkled in. We are looking at where we are now, is that individuals are starting to embrace the technology as a tool, and they are starting to look at it. You're seeing AI studios pop up. You have Promise and Staircase being two of the most prominent ones that are out there, and they are, both of them are looking to do something slightly different. Promise is looking to use AI and to really, push into AI, but they're not walking away from traditional filmmaking as well. And they really are artist driven. That's what they want to be, and that's how that's how Dave Clark, who is the chief creative officer over there, that's how he's really focused. And then you have Staircase, which is, they've said they plan to make 50 films a year. And so they're going to really dive in to what AI can do from an efficiency standpoint. So if you're talking about making 50 films a year, that's a lot. I mean, when I was at Warner Brothers running production technology for them and emerging tech for them, the highest number that we got to was 32. And that was in varying stages of development. That wasn't, saying we're going to crank out 32 movies per year. So, God bless Staircase. I want to see how this works out. I'm very curious to see where that goes. But I think that across the board, we are seeing more experimentation in Hollywood. I2A2, my company is I2A2 Technology Studios and Labs. So we have a research team that focuses on a lot of different things. One being, how is the industry adopting these tools? We have an ongoing survey right now, but we've paused as far as where we are in the data so that we can actually start to pull out some findings. And what we found is that and I want to go with the writers because writers were the ones who right off the bat they said, hey, I don't like that thing. It's going to replace me. And unfortunately, there were other people who were in positions of power who were saying stuff like that in the press that sort of exacerbated, the fear. Well, what we're seeing now is that writers are looking at how they can use AI, not for idea generation, but maybe to help them, say, proofread something or maybe clean up some of the language, things of that nature, using it just like they would use a thesaurus or a dictionary or things like that in the past, but integrating it in as part of their process. So we are seeing that. We're seeing animators start to play around with it a lot. VFX artists are really getting in some of the stuff that they're looking at doing with Gaussian splats and 3D and being able to create worlds. That's really getting there. So there's lots of exploration right now. I think what's capable right now is more so on the development side. You're seeing individuals who can create pre-visualization, they can create pitch decks, they can create things that have the ability to sort of get your story in front of the right people and get you funded. That you're seeing. The other thing that you are seeing is that there are people who are on YouTube who are exploring with where things can go. There are individuals who are not only exploring, but they're doing films. One of the greatest skill sets, I think, really and truly, is being able to tell a story in 30 seconds and get people engaged in 30 seconds. And no one does that better than commercial directors, writers, and producers. They know how to tell a story, whether it's about some healthcare product that has 1,000 lines of, here are all the side effects, but they make you want to know more about it simply by the way they relay the story. And so you're seeing individuals start to use AI in those short form contexts. And it's actually working relatively well. You had the Coca-Cola commercial over the holidays. That's an iconic commercial where they've used the polar bears for years. And that was AI generated. And it was AI directed. And it was AI art directed. And it was,
Weren't that democratized things? Weren't that like lower I can't remember the exact quote, but Matt Damon did a really interesting interview about how because of the demise of the DVD release and the impact of streaming, that budgets were now dropping to make really powerful stories and really powerful. It was all the show business side. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I've been quoted before in saying something, so I'll say it again. We are in show business, okay? And the show is what the artists get to do and what they get to present and how they get to perform and all of these wonderful things. There is the business aspect of it. And the business aspect of it means that you've got to actually make money. You've got to actually have something that's viable. So while you may see individuals thinking that this technology is going to actually lower their bottom line or they can get away with doing films for less, you have to pay attention to what the quality is that you're getting out of those films that you're doing for less. If you can actually, do everything that you want to do with a film for a third of the budget that you've been doing it for, years and years ago, why wouldn't you? That's just smart business. But if you're not able to do all of the things that you really want to do with that film that are going to make it something that actually has an engaging effect on the audience, it's creating a world in which the audience wants to be a part of. You're creating a space where someone has to be there, and when they leave the experience, they want to go and buy merch that's attached to the film. If you cannot do that with a lower budget, then you've missed what show business is really about. Because our job is to suspend disbelief for a brief time and to bring people into a world in which they are totally immersed mentally. I can understand where Matt Damon's coming from, where he says, I'm concerned about these budgets dropping, because typically if the budget drops, quality drops with it. We have to actually find a balance where we say, hey, let's use the technology to help us where it's meant to help us. And then let's let the artist be the artist and put the money and put the effort and the time behind those artists so that they can create something that's actually going to stand and something that people want to be engaged with.
What's the lessons we can learn about? Because the big thing is, everybody's creating content. Everybody's using AI to speed it up and to get it out there. But we're all starting to realize there's a big com out there. It's not just about the reach numbers and, linked it to an echo chamber and stuff like that. How do you make content engaging? How do you really make it resonate with people? What are you seeing there? And your company actually helps people understand that and measure it, don't they?
Yes, we do. I2A2, we really do help, content creators, professors, doctors, and marketers and researchers understand how, the recipients or the viewers of their content or their curriculum or their healthcare services, how they really engage with what's being put in front of them. And there's all kinds of psychology behind how this actually happens. And that's why we have a neuroscientist on our team. And we also have, a media psychologist on our team as well. That is part of what we do. When people ask us, tell me how people are engaging with my content, we like to go a lot deeper. We go beyond just saying, okay, well, they're engaging with it because of the bright colors or things like that. Or, they happen to like a particular character or something like that. What we look at is, okay, where are their eyes on the screen when their heart rate goes up? Where is it that they lean in? So micro expressions and body language, and neuroscience, of what's actually happening to an individual as they engage with the content. We get all of that data and a whole lot more, because I won't give you our secret sauce, because then everybody will be doing it. But, we get a ton of data, and then we wrap that in a report to show you at the deepest level how someone is interacting with your content at every moment within the content itself. So if you're asking us to look at a commercial, how are people responding to that commercial? What we're going to do is we're going to tell you from the first second to the 30-second to the 60-second. Here's where people are engaging. What draws people in, the baseline, is a good story. A lot of people forget that if you cannot tell a story is the key to all of this. If you cannot tell a good story, you're going to lose the audience right off the bat. You talked about your kids and how 10 or 15 minutes they get pulled in. That's from good writing. Most of the time it has nothing to do with the visuals. It's good writing. 2001 has 11 minutes, I think it is, of black at the beginning. But once you start watching that and listening to the music, you're not going to go anywhere because you want to know what's going to happen. You
Mm.
know, it's making people feel, and everybody calls it FOMO now. Another part of it is that fear of missing out on something. That plays a part into it. And then there's also reciprocity. If someone feels like they're getting something from your content, if they're going to receive something, whether that's a great feeling or whether that is a sense of accomplishment that they made it to the end of your, your content, um, or if they see that, I really was invested in a particular character and that character's story arc really satisfied me. Those types of things work. If you're talking about professors, being able to understand how to tell a story and make a difficult subject connect with students in a way that is catching them where they are. And that's very difficult for professors to be able to do when they're in a classroom, in some instances, of 100 to 200 to 300 students. But when you can actually say, let's take a sample set of the students. Let's have them review a professor's current lecture. Let's play around with the biometrics and see what actually happens. And then talk back to that professor to say, here's where you're losing them, or here's where everybody within the focus group seemed to lean in. That helps the professor to be able to kind of craft their curriculum and craft their lecture for the next audience in a way that's more engaging. You can do the same thing with film. You can do the same thing with television. You can now help writers and content creators understand how to make that connection through data. And yes, AI is a part of it, but AI is not the only part.
So, last question, and then we're going to go into quick fire round because we've only got 1 minute, but I'm going to overrun.
All right, we're gonna go fast.
But just quick. But well, this is a deep question, which is annoying, but I want to ask it because one of the audience has asked it. So, great example. Somebody in the audience is like, in the 80s, their dad put a payphone in their house in an attempt to limit the phone use. I hate to laugh. But the point was, he was someone that did not interface with phones like them. So they just didn't get it. So we're not kids. Why should we know, or students, why should we know what they think? And interesting enough, it just relates to something I wrote in my latest newsletter, because the wonderful Noel Gallagher has this great video, which is basically F the customer. Yeah. And his point was, nobody wanted Jimi Hendrix. Nobody wanted this. So I've got a double question there you've got to answer in less than a minute. Like, why should we know this stuff? And, even could the data mislead us into not being creative enough? Because like that reference you said with 2001 is like, what data would have told you to put 11 minutes of black up on a screen?
Yeah. That's a really deep question.
I know. I'm sorry.
I would say
I'll give you a minute and a half.
Yeah. I would say if I would think that through, I would say yes to the back end of your question, that it could, if used incorrectly, have individuals chasing either likes or chasing, audience or chasing numbers and things of that nature. It could do that. But in truth, isn't that what marketers are trying to do? That's where they live. They want to increase the reach of whatever they are sent out to market. So it's useful there. However, if you look at it from a creative standpoint, as an artist, if you start trying to chase only what you think audiences really and truly want, in my opinion, that would probably limit your ability to think differently and to create that which is uniquely yours as an artist. And no artist wants to be trapped in a box that way. At that point, you're just a person who's, essentially copying someone else's work and putting out prints. And that's not what you want to do as an artist. You want to be able to create. But understanding how your art engages and how it actually touches people is useful to an artist just from a sense of accomplishment. You know, me as a photographer, when someone looks at one of my pictures and they say, "Wow, there's so much in that picture." I feel good because I know what I was thinking when I was trying to capture that moment. And I know what was around me. But to have someone actually see that or see something in there that I didn't see and make it their own, that's what artists really want. They want people to understand the message. And that's why it's important for them to understand how people engage with their art.
Got you. Got you. Good. Right. Now, this one's fast. Quick fire round.
All right.
Culture. Cultural reference. A book, an artist, or a movie.
It's Star Wars. I was born in the 60s. I was a kid in the 70s. And that movie just, it will always be there. And yes, Darth Vader is my favorite character.
Brilliant. Brand. Which brand do you admire the most?
Brand. because I am a Star Wars fan, but I'm also a Star Trek fan. Um, because I grew up with Star Trek being on in repeats. I'm gonna say for me, because I'm not gonna talk about clothes or soda or an energy drink. For me, the brand would be Star Trek.
Ooh, cool. Tech. What's your favorite tech?
My favorite tech is my collection of film cameras. Whether it is movie cameras or whether it's still.
And connection. What's the most meaningful collaboration in your career, do you think?
That's very difficult because I've had some really good collaborations with some really awesome people. Um, I'm gonna say my current team, because my current team, what we do is everything that we work on, we use a process that we've developed called inclusive innovation. And I enjoy the way that we operate with my team. And so I'm gonna say the best collaborators are really my team, every single one of them.
See, you are the nicest man in Hollywood. Right. Thank you so much, Renard. This was wonderful. Like everybody, I want to get you back already. Luckily, I didn't cancel all the other speakers, and they're probably going to be really pissed off that I even threatened to do that.
Please don't be mad at me, guys. Or young ladies or girls or women or whatever. Don't be mad at me.
Thanks very much, Renard. Speak to you soon.
All right. Take care.